I think you can see my screen, right? Even I am audible. Both. Can you please confirm on that? If I am audible and if my screen is visible to you. Yeah, thank you. So today we are going to talk about these things. These are all very useful things for us. We'll talk on this. So in this automation, there are many web elements we automate, like web elements in sense like we have seen how to do automation for text box or radio button login form, many more things like that. Okay. Nice. Okay, I'm just muting this. Okay, let's say this now. So along with that, today what I would like to do is I would like to uh, discuss about this checkbox automation and radio button automations, and then also about this drop down list, all this. Along with that, I would like to talk about a few more important scenarios associated with this. So let's talk about all that today. So let me just open this one. So we did in the last session, we did automation of login form. I think you are familiar with all that, and we had a detailed discussion on that. Now, along with that, even we had discussed about location strategies, locating strategies. Sorry, locator strategies. Otherwise, like how to apply this locating strategies with this ID and class name, tag name, this link text, all this. We had discussed that as well in the last session. So along with that, what I would like to discuss today is about automating this checkbox, automating this radio buttons, and also uh, there is an important thing I would like to introduce, which is about applying Java list collections or collections to implement automating multiple web elements in a web page. We'll see all that today. So now when we talk about this one, automating these checkboxes, so let's see that how do we automate this checkbox or radio button or this drop down list. We'll go one by one. So first we'll start with this ones. See here. So this is checkbox automation. See this. Simple. So here, this is the dummy website. I choose to do the checkbox automation. If you see this, let me just show you this one. You can use this if you want to test your this one checkbox automation. Let me just share you. This is the website. Okay, if you want to just do some dummy testing on these different web elements, like you can see it has multiple web elements. You have some checkbox and then radio button and then date picker, drop down list, and then file upload. All different things are there. So you can test that. Okay, right? You can try that. Okay, friends. Let's apply. See here. When you click on this, you have a checkbox form like this. So now we would like to automate this checkbox. Let us see how do we apply this automation of these checkboxes. Simple, right? So we are already familiar with the process. If you want to do any automation, first thing you have to get to this website and then choose that web element and then right click on that and then say inspect. When you say inspect, what happens? You'll go to that this web page, and then here we have to locate the web element. And how do you locate the web element? Usually, how do we create checkboxes? Some with some input tag or something, or you can directly search with checkbox here. We are seeing 9 different tags matching with this checkbox. Let's search with this 3. So you can see here, this is our checkbox. If you see here, input type. See, this is the tag which helps us to create a checkbox, input type checkbox, ID checkbox 1. So this is the one we are looking for if you see here. So when we select it, you can see that this getting highlighted in this. So you can see here, this is getting highlighted when we select, when I put my cursor on this particular tag here. So here you can look at this particular checkbox either with ID, so or either with value. You can choose any one of these two. I hope this is clear, friends, or with type as well. Okay, you can choose any of these 3 attributes. We had discussed already yesterday about different locating strategies, how to locate with ID or how to locate with value, or how to locate with the type or class and tag names, all that. So here, for us, the best thing is maybe you can locate this checkbox with either ID or with value. Anything should be fine, friends. So what do we do? Let's go to the code now. So we are this driver dot already these steps we are familiar. So creating Chrome options and then setting up this driver manager and then creating Chrome driver, all this, because right now we are working more with the Chrome browser. Maybe we will also see how to work with different browsers, Firefox as well as Safari as well as Opera, all different browsers. We'll go one by one. Now, for now, we are continuing with Chrome browser, friends. So now, once we navigate to that website, now we are trying to get that locate that checkbox. So these checkboxes one by one, and now we observed this is the input, and this is the tag which is used to locate this checkbox. And in this, we have to use either ID or either value, or you can choose any of these identifiers to locate or find this web element, which is nothing but checkbox. Now here you can see here. Earlier we directly applied driver dot find element, but now we are choosing web element class because web element is a built-in class which is used to assign a look this element object. So what this right side tag does here, this right side tag helps us to find the or locate the element, this web element, and that object whichever we locate that is assigned to this reference of web element. Here you can see here. So the advantage with this class is it provides multiple methods to play with this web element object. Right. So now we are trying to locate this web element checkbox. So you see by ID, you can see here. And if you look at this one HTML code here, in this, if you go and see here, this tag has this identifiers. Now we are choosing this one, this identifier ID here, if you see here. And with this ID, we are locating this checkbox. Usually see, to create all this kind of different web elements, we apply this input type equal to checkbox, input type equal to radio, input type equal to, what shall we say, button, input type equal to, like, in that way, if you want to create any web element, so most of the time, we try to prefer this input tag. Okay. So now in this tag, we have to choose this ID. Now we did that. We have tried to find that element, web element by ID, and that ID which uniquely identifies this or which locates this checkbox 1. So that we found out, and then we just pass that to this method by ID. So I hope this is clear, friends. You are following this, right? So then assign it to the web element class. And then in this web element, there are multiple methods. But if this is checkbox, right? And generally we click on checkbox here. That's all. When we click on it, gets selected. And that's what we are doing here. When we say option one dot click. So once we locate this checkbox one, and when we say there is a method click method on this, then this automatically gets selected. This particular checkbox, whatever we are seeing here, that automatically gets selected when we say that option one dot click here. This what's happen here. So these two statements, what is that? At line 31 and line 34, what these two statements does is, so one, this 31st statement helps us to locate this checkbox, okay, by ID. So that is what line 31 does. And then that object which we are locating, so we are assigning that web element to this built-in class web element, and then we are applying click method on checkbox, because usually we click checkbox or we tick checkbox. If we should tick checkbox, then we apply this click method. I hope this is clear. Similarly, what we do, we have two more checkboxes, and what we do, we try to identify, see this, we'll locate these two checkboxes. It's the same process. So you can see here, we can locate checkbox 2 by using the ID checkbox 2, right? And then we can assign it to the this web element reference here, and then apply option dot click. Similarly, do the same for this third checkbox as well, because see here, when you say inspect, see, right click on this and say inspect here, you can see. So you can go and check here somewhere here. You can easily find out. You can, this is for checkbox 2. When we select it, you can see this, when I put cursor here, checkbox 2 is getting selected at the left side of all this in the form. Checkbox 2 is getting selected. That means this, we are locating the checkbox successfully here. And now what we want, we need to locate this in the code, in the Selenium code. How do we locate? By using this ID. So we did that now. Again, we did same for, repeated the same thing for third checkbox as well. And now, just to give you a clarity, like, what different methods we can apply on checkbox. See this, whenever you have to see two things here. When we have a checkbox, so when you check this, when you select it, this is when you tick this is actually selected. You can see when you tick it, this checkbox are selected. When you untick it, these are deselected. There are two different options for checkboxes. So whenever we click on this, it's got selected, and whenever again click on it, it got deselected. So these are the two things we can check on select on these checkboxes, right? So what are those two different uh, operations we apply on this? One is select it and then deselect it. Suppose you have checked this, you have clicked on this. So when you click on this checkbox gets selected. And if you want to check whether a checkbox is selected, then there is a method is selected. So you can see here in the code to verify whether a checkbox is selected or not. Then what do we do, friends? There is a method provided by the web element class. What is that web element class is providing for checkbox? It provides a method is selected. So this method returns true if a checkbox is ticked, if it is checked or ticked or clicked. So what it does is check whether checkbox is toggled on. Toggled means whether we done a, when we, whether we have checked it or ticked it or not. Okay. So now this is a simple validation to see if a particular checkbox is selected or not. So when we do this, this when we simply say if this checkbox is selected, then we want to do something. Simply, we are doing a simple validation here. What is that validation, friends? Simple. If this a checkbox is selected or not. If it is true, means it is selected. Then we are printing checkbox is toggled on. Toggled means nothing but it's clicked on. Else it is not checked. It is not clicked. So that is the simple validation we can apply on a checkbox. What is it, friends? So this is a method we apply. Usually when we click on this, this gets selected and we want to validate if it is selected or not. And to check validate the selection of this checkbox, what do? We apply is selected method. So what is selected do? This option dot is selected when we pass it, it returns true if checkbox is selected. Else if it returns false. Sorry, it returns false if this is unselected. Okay. So based on that, what do? We apply a simple validation, if else validation. So what is it? If checkbox is selected or not. So now we are just writing this code here, right? I think this should be very clear for you. If options one dot is selected, then checkbox, we can say simply checkbox is toggled on or it is selected or it is clicked. Else it is toggled off or toggled off means it is deselected. So it's not selected. That choice is not selected. That is the simple idea about this validation. I hope this is clear for all of you. Anyhow, after doing all this, so after locating these three statements, this one and this one and this one, these three statements at line 31 and line 37 and line 43 helps us to locate this web element checkbox, and then we are assigning that to the web element class, and line 34 and line 40 and line 46 we are trying to click on that checkbox. We are right now we are just trying to click on all the three different checkboxes. And then this is just only to show you in some cases we need this validation if checkbox is ticked or not. And if you want to do that validation, then what do? We apply this is selected method. So after that, I'm just applying a sleep method here just for 10 seconds. And then if that is completed, what I'm doing here. So this is very useful scenario. So this is actually a Java lists actually. What this does is, so usually, in a web form. So this is about checkboxes. So when we say a checkbox as a web element, it has multiple items like, it might be food item, it might be some other, so there are like some luggage items, logistic items, something like related to bags, something related to transport or some colors, all that. So the purpose of checkbox, all of us know, this is a multi-selection. If you want to have, suppose if you are going in a train in an IRCTC, you can see there will be multiple food items, food item choices in that website, right? You can choose breakfast. In that breakfast, again, you can choose multiple food items like idli, dosa, like that. So the purpose of checkbox in a website or in a web page is to have to choose multiple items. Okay, you can try to select multiple items from this web element checkboxes. So point is simple. When this checkboxes is needed, if you want to select or if you want to apply selection for multiple items of some product, then we choose this checkbox. And in such case, there is one thing we should always do here. What is it, friends? We have to validate if all these checkboxes are selected or not, right? Else, if all these are deselected. If you want to extract, if you want to extract or read if all these checkboxes are selected, then how do we do at your Selenium code or Java side? It's so simple. What is that we do? There is a list collection. list of web elements where this is actually a, so this is, you can see here. When we see this in an Angular brackets, this is a generic list. What we call it as generic list means this list will have all web element objects. So we are creating a list object here. Simply speaking, this is Java collection. It accepts group of objects. That group can be any number of objects. It can be 100,000, lakh, crore, or any number of objects. And this is a very useful topic in Java, collection topic. Even I'll cover this. Okay. So what we are doing here, we are creating a list object. See here, this is a generic list, and then we are trying to locate this checkbox by applying this XPath. You can see here, we are familiar with XPath. So to locate this checkbox in a unique way, all checkboxes, not just one checkbox, right? So you can see here in this web page, this is a very useful topic, friends. So we have all these checkboxes. Now I want to locate all these checkboxes, not just one checkbox. If I should locate one checkbox, then we should do that in a unique way, right? How do you do? You apply some ID, or you apply some value, or you apply some class name, which identifies this web element in a unique way. Now we are not trying to find it. We are not trying to find this checkbox one alone. Now I want to locate all these checkboxes. If we should locate all these checkboxes, then we should choose a common filter for that. What is that common filter? Simply speaking, see, to create this checkbox for all this, what is the common element here? Common element is input tag. So we should say to locate it, apply input, and then you can see here now. When we say apply input, it is showing three matches, means all the three different checkboxes are selected. But still, we would like to give a more specific pattern. So what do we do? Open brackets, and then what shall we say? So usually all these checkboxes has this particular thing. What is it? Checkbox. You can see here either type as checkbox. So we will usually, when we create a checkbox tag, this input always has this type checkbox. And wherever we find these checkboxes, we have to locate all these checkboxes, and we use this type attribute here. So what do we do? At the rate type equal to. So whenever you want to locate a tag based on attribute, then how do we apply XPath here? We just choose that start of that tag, that is input, and then the square bracket you open, and then what do you do? Apply that at the rate symbol for that attribute. That attribute can be a type attribute, or it can be a value attribute, or it can be a any other attribute. Then you if it is, we are trying to locate some web element using this attribute, then we should apply like this, like at the rate type here, and then in single quotes you can simply say what is this. This type is checkbox. So copy this and put it here. Now you can see still we have three matches. So here suppose sometimes in a web page you might have checkboxes, you might have radio buttons, you might have a drop down list. So multiple item button and also you have normal buttons, all that. So in that case, if you apply input, this input tag also identifies not only these checkboxes, it identifies this radio buttons, it identifies this normal buttons, all this. So to locate checkbox alone, you can apply this type equal to checkbox. This helps us to zero in on only checkboxes. Means this helps us only to locate all checkboxes. Now we have three checkboxes in this web form. So all those three checkboxes are identified here. You can see here. Now this is checkbox 2. Now this is checkbox 3. Similarly, suppose if you want to locate all radio buttons, then you can say type equal to radio. In such case, this helps us to locate all radio buttons in a web page. Similarly, if you want to locate all some other buttons, normal buttons, then you can say input type equal to button. So in such case, it helps us to locate all buttons. In that way, if you want to locate a specific type of web element, then we can apply at the rate type attribute. And this helps us to identify or locate all different a specific type of web element here. So whichever it is, if it is checkbox or if it is radio button or if it is a button or if it can be anything associated with input tag. Okay, so this is a simple pattern, XPath pattern. Now, if you go to the code, just pass that to this method find element by XPath and pass that pattern to that. And this helps us to locate all checkboxes. And here in this code, if you see, we have three different checkboxes. All these three different checkboxes are we are selecting all that, and that comes as a list for us, list of checkboxes. When we have multiple checkboxes, all this as written as written as what, friends? When we apply this, this returns a list object. What object? A list object. And that list object we are assigning to the list reference here. See here, list reference, friends. Are you following this now? So now once we assign to the list reference, once this is done, then we iterate this. See, you know how to loop something, right, friends? By applying some for loop or while loop, all that we had discussed this in Java. And similarly, we apply this for each, what we call. This is the for each loop, which iterates all elements present in the in particular collection, not only list. This is applied on whole of collections. So this for each will iterate on this collection list. Now what happens here, friends? If you see this, we have two parts in this for each. What the first part is the source, and then sorry, the first part is the type, that element type, and then second part is the source. This is source. Second part is source. The first part is destination. So from this source, we copy element to this destination, and then we apply some operation on that here. Now here, what we are doing here, friends, here we are trying to read all checkboxes assigned by this. So this tag returns all checkboxes in the form of list, and that is assigned here. Now when we say for each of web element ELE colon all checkbox, this is the reference. Means this list is assigned here. This carries out all the checkboxes present in the list. And every time this loop iterates, one checkbox is assigned to this element. One checkbox. What happens every time this for loop is iterated? One checkbox is read from this list, and that is assigned to this reference. Now, what you are doing here? Earlier, we have verified, like, how to do validation on a single checkbox. Now we are doing this validation on multiple checkboxes, all in one this thing in one go, in single shot. So by applying this for each. So now what you are doing here, you are seeing, you are just validating if all of these three checkboxes are selected. If they are selected, what I am doing here, I am trying to again click on it. Means already these are selected. Where I am just checking, validating. Is each checkbox is selected? Yes. If it is returning true, then you get inside this if block. When you get inside this if block, you are saying element dot click. When you click on it, what happens? Already we have selected them. So when we again click on it, what happens now? This gets deselected. See here. So this is what we are doing. We are trying to read all these checkboxes. This statement does that, and though all that checkboxes are written in the form of list object, and that list object we are assigning to this reference, this list reference, with the web element internally. In this angular brackets, if you see a class name here, means this is a list of web elements, simply speaking. And that list of web elements has all these different checkboxes written by this object. Now we have to iterate this because we have multiple items inside this list collection, right? When we iterate it, this iterates element by element here. Each time it iterates, this for iterates one element is read from this list collection and assigned to this. And every time that web element is read out, when it is extracted, we are applying a selected method here. If that particular web element is selected or not. And if it is selected, right, then we are saying ask it to again click on it. Means we are deselecting it. That's what this code is doing here. And this is how, and this method is very much useful to you. This list concept or this collection concept, whatever that is there in Java. This is very much useful to you when you are doing these kind of validations in your Selenium code. Understanding collections is also very important, this thing for us. So we'll talk about it after this. I'll just have a brief intro for list collections in a session or two. That gives you a clear idea about Java collections. Okay. I don't say that two sessions are enough. Usually to understand or to get a deeper idea about collections, we need at least some 5 to 10 to 15 sessions on collections. But I'll just make simple with 1 or 2 sessions for our Selenium testing. Okay. So this is a simple idea, friends. Hope this is clear. Right. Let's run this now. I try to give a clear picture about each statement we have declared in this program. Right now, right click on this. Let's test this automation. What is this automation doing? It is trying to locate each checkbox and we are trying to click that, and then what is it? Here we are validating it. If checkbox 1 is selected, you can see option 1 is nothing but checkbox 1. If checkbox 1 is selected, we are just printing that that is selected. And then we are also locating all checkboxes, and then and we are trying to iterate those checkboxes and seeing that if it is selected, if all these checkboxes are selected one by one, not all at a time. This does one by one. And if a checkbox is selected, again we are deselecting here. That's what we are doing here. So let's try to test this now. So now here in this process, what I'll do is I am applying a sleep method inside this, so that for loop, so that what happens, we can see that deselection clearly, slowly, one by one. Now, when this, what is it? When we start executing this automation, we can see that all checkboxes selected first. You can see because we applied click on this, all these checkboxes, right? Let us run this and see now. So now we are running the automation. Now this has brought up the website and you can see it's showing all checkboxes are selected. So after 5 seconds, you can see it starts deselecting checkbox one by one here. See, so you can see here sleep completed. When sleep completed, you can see here it just you can see now it's applying this deselection of these checkboxes one by one. So this is a simple automation. You can see this is done now, friends. If this is done, I didn't apply driver.close here on this checkbox automation. So it's still it will be browser will be open. So what shall we do? At code level, you can just close this program. Mm, this is still on. It should not be on here. So what shall we do? We have to close this somewhere. Go to window or help otherwise. Somewhere we have this console. Show you which one we need console. You can see here, friends. It is still running. Just close this. Otherwise, you can drag it and put it at the bottom or right side or something. You can see. Yeah, you can see now. Right. So this is still running. Just stop it here. Then this is terminated. This program execution is completed now. So this is a simple idea, friends. Are you following? I hope I tried to give clarity as much as possible on this. Right. I'm just again repeating. these steps. What you can do is you can apply same steps for radio button. There is a slight change for radio button compared to checkbox. If it is checkbox, it's always a multi-selection. So you can choose item 1, item 2, item 3 like this. So when should we create this checkboxes? If you want to select multiple items, then we prefer checkboxes. But radio button is not like that. Radio button has only a single selection. Of course, you might add multiple things under radio button, like male, female, or some other gender. In that case, you cannot choose two different genders. You can choose only male or female or other. Similarly, there will be multiple scenarios like that, right? In such cases, we apply radio button. Usually, we see these radio buttons for male or female. Otherwise, something like this, right? So that is the simple idea. So if you want to select multiple items, then we add checkboxes for that in a web page. If you want to select only some specific item or specific element, then we create radio buttons. Now, anyhow, I'm just sharing this code in the chat box so that it might be helpful for you. Let me just paste it here. And similarly, okay, I think you are clear with all this. Now let us see the same for radio button. So what is it now? See, in the same web page, again, we have, what is it? You have this web element radio button. Now we need to do automation for radio button. I hope this is clear for all of you, right? You are good with this checkbox automation, right, friends? Can you please confirm if it is clear for you or any confusion on that? So you understood the steps, right? How to locate that checkbox and then assign it to a web element class, step 2. And then step 3, how to click it, how to click on this checkbox, right? Applying this click method, that is step 3. And then step 4, just do a simple validation if checkbox is selected or not. That is step 4. And again, how to read all checkboxes by applying this XPath tag and assign it to a list class. That is step 5. And then once after that, how do you iterate this list object and then get out each checkbox? How do you get each checkbox from that list? And then how do you apply that? Again, do validation on each checkbox present in this list collection. So that is step 6. Okay. And then you are deselecting whichever is selected. That is step 7. So we did all this in this checkbox automation, friends. I hope this is clear for all of you. Same thing you can do for radio button. Suppose let's run this first. So what you do is you go to this website first. Let us observe what is there in radio button. Simple. We can write if you want step again one more time. So just paste it here. You can see, and please remove this one here. No problem. There is a small typo. Enter. Now you have all the 3 different radio buttons. Now we want to automate this. And if you should automate, same concept. You should locate this radio button. How do you locate it? Right click and say inspect and then go to that input tag. See, usually all these are created with input tags. So that is the general idea. So maybe if you ask me, how do I know that this radio button is created with input tag? So that is general. If you have some basic idea about HTML, then you easily understand all these kind of tags are created with a tag called input tag. So search for input tag here. When you say input, you can see that will automatically locate this different radio buttons, and it is showing we have 3 matchings here, which is nothing but it is matching these 3 radio buttons here. So first one is radio button 1 and second one is radio button 2 and third one is radio button 3. So this is how you locate your radio buttons. So now the point is, how do you again locate this for each radio button? Either we locate it by ID, this is one thing, or with all value, this is second thing, or with this class, this is third thing, or with the type, this is fourth thing. You can try to locate with any of these attributes. So now usually we prefer which one, friends? We use ID to locate this web element radio button, right? So you go to the code. That's what we did here. You can see here. Not ID. I think we applied option here, friends. Value. So you can see here we use this attribute value because ID has some issue here. I tried that last night. Maybe this has some problem when I tried to identify with the ID. Maybe you can try that if you want. So maybe if you ask me, that is easy for us, Manoram. Why don't we try with ID? It's so simple. What is that? You can comment all these three. So comment this. You can give a try if you want. Let me just show you. So I commented these three statements. Now, what do we do? Come here. Simply, you can uncomment this one, this particular one. And then here, uh, create web element object. So web element some radio one equal to what you can do. And you can choose driver dot find element by till this you can copy and paste it here. And then you should choose by ID. And then in brackets, what is that? Usually, if you locate by ID, so here, what is the ID for this? The ID for this particular checkbox one, sorry, radio button one is this. You have to copy this, come here and then paste here. So this is locating first radio button. Okay, I just applied a validation if that is the select method is working fine or not. So that's why I just applied, ignored if radio button one is selected or not. It is by default when you say click, it gets selected. So we don't have any issue with that. Okay. Similarly, you should create how many here, copy this and then paste this one by one here. So you have radio 2 and then you have, I don't think we need to say click. Okay, I am just removing this. And similarly, you can have one more here, web element tag for locating radio button 3. So radio 3 equal to, so web element 2 radio button 2 and then this is the radio button 3. So we try to locate all these three different radio buttons in the which one, friends, in this web page. You can see here all these radio buttons. Now after that, what we are doing here, we are trying to apply click on each of this web element. Okay, so we say radio button one, radio one dot click means that radio button one gets selected. And similarly, radio two dot click means radio two button, radio button two gets selected. If this radio button 2 is selected, you can see here radio button 1 is deselected and radio button 2 is selected when we say radio 2 dot click. That's how it works with radio buttons. We cannot select all radio buttons at a time like checkboxes. We can choose any one of these radio buttons. It's not like we can select all radio buttons. So when we say radio 2 dot click, automatically radio, you can see here, radio 1 gets deselected. So just that is the idea. Suppose when I click on radio 3, then radio 2 gets deselected. This is the idea, right? Same thing happens at even when we apply the same thing in code. When we say radio 2 dot click, then radio button 1 gets deselected, right? Similarly, when I say radio 3 dot click, radio button 2 is deselected and radio button 3 gets selected. Okay. And then you can apply radio 3 dot click. Just copied and pasted the same comment on top of it. Now what happens? Now let's run it. It failed it when I use the same ID. But ID we are locating each radio button in a unique way by applying this ID tag. Let's see if this is working fine, no issues. Because while doing testing last night, I ran into some issue. So I applied XPath to locate each radio button. But now we just applied locating this radio buttons directly with ID. Let's see if it is working. Else we'll again uncomment that above code. Let's run the automation. Now we see it got selected. See, I got an error for some reason. I see, you can see here. It is saying unable to locate radio button 2. But when I go to the this one and when I right click and when I say inspect, you can see here maybe just apply HTML and then you say input. Input, you can see we have 3 matches and then go to the second match and you can see it doesn't have idea. For some reason, this guys didn't give us ID. That's why we are having error. See here, they didn't give us ID. They gave value for second radio button. You can see here. So that's why what I did, I choose XPath, a value here. Value has option 2. For first radio button, you have value option 1. Second radio button option 2. So how to identify each radio button with value? Simply, you can create an simple XPath tag, /. Always XPath tag starts with /, and that tag name. Why I'm again and again trying to write this here, in front of you. So this gives you a clear idea like how to create XPaths, how to create patterns, somewhere if you have any doubt. So that helps us to overcome that fear of that doubt and then also fear of creating these XPaths. Tomorrow you need to create many of these XPaths when you are doing this automation. That's why every time I am trying to do this in front of you, friends. So you can see here, apply this, and then how to locate this particular value attribute. Simply, the syntax is simple. At the rate that attribute name. Attribute name is value equal to the value associated with that attribute option 1. Suppose when you say option, it locates all 3. You can see if I say apply options. So it should be able to locate value equal to option, value equal to option. Generally, it should be able to. Option 1 is identifying this one. Somehow this pattern is not working. If I say option, no problem. Leave it like that. Suppose if we say option 2, you can see it is locating this second checkbox. Suppose if I say option 3, it is locating third checkbox. Maybe if we say option, I'm assuming that it selects all the 3 different radio buttons, but somehow this pattern is not working. It is not taking this. So no problem. But now we got an idea, right? How to create this pattern to locate this particular radio button option with option 1 as value, right? This is the pattern we created. So when you go to the code, and again, when you this is anyhow, we find out that radio button 2 ID is not present for this tag in the web page. So that's why we are seeing this error here saying unable to locate element this one. Why? Because that ID itself is not there. An ID is not there. How could it find that? How could it locate it? So it's not possible. That's why we are facing this error. No such element exception. You can see here. Whenever you see this error, that it's a clear idea that we are not creating this locating this web element in a right way. That is the clear indication. So just have that idea. So go back and try to locate your web elements with what, friends? With see here, this one with the XPath. Now we created this, how to create this pattern to locate this radio button 1. Similarly, same thing, value option 2 means locates radio button 2. If value option 3 locates radio button 3. Okay. So, and also we have verified all the functionality, how it works first before we run this. Now we applied What is it? Radio button one dot click. Look, selects radio one. Selects this selects radio two when you say radio two dot click. And this selects radio three when you say radio three dot click. And at the end, if you want, what you can do, you can simply say thread dot sleep, apply a sleep method for just for 5 seconds. So 5,000 milliseconds you can pass. And then you can say driver dot, you can simply say driver dot quit here. Okay, semicolon. So let's run this automation. Already we tested this. We got an error. If we tried with that locating this radio button with the ID, so we choose XPath here. Let's test this code now. Run as this one. Now you can see here we started the automation, and now it selected second radio button. It's moving to the third radio button. Now finally this automation is done successfully. It got closed. And also we put some print statements. Every time that radio button gets selected, we are saying option 2 got selected, option 3 selected. But for first one, what I put here, just to make sure that this validation is working fine, I said that if not selected, then you should say this option 1 is not selected. Something like that. You should skip it. If not selected, it's not selected. If it is deselected, then you should, when you say not of radio one dot is selected, then this returns true or when it is unselected or deselected, not when it is selected. You can see radio button dot is selected means that, excuse me, friends. Sorry. If we say this radio one dot is selected means if radio button is selected, then it should return true. And applied not on that means if it is not selected, then this returns true. Right, this returns true. Then we are just giving some print statement. So I just only added this validation like this just to see that how to apply this method on this radio button, if it is working or not. That's all, friends. But otherwise, we can just say when we select radio button 1, we can simply say radio 1 is selected. This time you can see all three outputs in the console, right? If you do this automation again and run it along with this automation here, performing automation in the web browser, you can see here in the at code side you can see the process going on. When this radio 2 is selected, you get this. Radio 3 is selected. In the console, we can see a print statement. This got printed, right? In this way, we can create this automation in most understandable and most meaningful approach. So now, what is the takeaways in this session today? So we are able to understand multiple things. What is it? So we understood about what shall we say? About automating few web elements today, about automating checkbox, that is that, and then radio button, that is that. And then we also understood about selecting or reading all that web elements, reading all list of checkboxes that is there in the web page by applying list collection here. And this takes that object web element. If you put this angular brackets along with some collection, this is a generic collection, which is usually uniquely stores this all web element objects, right? So we try to understand how to read all checkboxes into list and then iterate it with a for loop and then apply a validation inside for loop by using same thing. See, this is selected method is quite common, right? So if you want to see that if a radio button is selected or if a checkbox is selected and if you want to apply a validation on this web element, see the radio button or checkbox, then which method is applied here? Is selected. What is this is selected method does? It checks if this web elements checkbox or radio button is selected and returns true if it is selected, right? So in this way, today we try to understand these different concepts in our session today. I hope this is clear for all of you. This list thing, I'll talk about it maybe. So once we finish all this web element, this locating web elements is done. So tomorrow we come up with some other new topic like either action class or some other thing. Okay. So that's about it, friends. Any questions? You can stay back. Else, we will close this session for today and connect back tomorrow. All of you are good now? Any questions? And please confirm our chat box. Okay, code, sorry. So just a minute. So let me copy and paste it in the chat box. Paste it here. Okay, so that is the code for radio button. Already I have shared code for checkbox. Okay, is this clear for all of you friends? I hope it should be fine for you. Right. Maybe we can do some project kind of thing. So maybe some 10-15 sessions, not now. Once this is done, we'll create one more learning program just to apply how to apply this selenium concepts. Okay. Right. Any more questions? I don't see any questions coming from you. We'll stop here, friends. We'll connect back tomorrow and come up with another beautiful session on selenium. Okay. Thank you, friends.